Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. We are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Go to manscaped.com. Check out all of their fantastic products, the Lawnmower 3.0, their new Weed Whacker, ball deodorant, you name it. Go to manscaped.com, check out their fantastic deals as well, and use promo code BROD at checkout. You have the ability to acquire all the gifts that you need for the holidays, boom, in one spot. Once again, manscaped.com and promo code BROD. Let's get into some Philadelphia Eagles conversation, shall we? I don't feel good at all. I feel horrible. Terrible. This is going to be a nightmare. That's what I'm anticipating. That's how I feel this game is going to play out. This team can't beat the Seahawks. They can never beat the Seahawks. They can't beat them when this organization is functional. Now, it is in the worst spot we've ever seen. It is in shambles, and I don't know how it's going to be fixed. I don't know when it's going to be fixed, and that concerns me. And once again, I had to listen to this head coach lie. It is so hard to be this bad when it comes to speaking to the media. And it feels like over the last handful of weeks, that is what has been taking over 90% of Eagles conversation. But when it is this dreadful, it's what it has to be. Doug Pederson is clueless when it comes to 95% of what he does every day. So he was asked on Saturday about the Jalen Hurts stuff, and he said Hurts got the same number of reps as he normally would during practice. Well, then Tim McManus reports that there has been a noticeable increase in the first-team reps for Jalen Hurts. Now, Broads, where was the lie? Technically, Doug Pederson could be right. He got the same number of snaps. It was just more towards the first team. So what if that was the case? Did Doug Pederson really lie? His messaging blows! And I don't want to hear that, well, what's he supposed to do? Give away the game plan? There's other ways to answer the question and give input and give more of a response than flat out say what Doug Pederson said. How about this? We're constantly working on the Jalen Hurts package. We're constantly thinking of improving the way that we can utilize Jalen Hurts' skill set. Boom! There you go! But the way he answered the question, see, and here's another thing. It would be different if this was the first or second time this year something like this pops up. But when every press conference, there's at least two things that you can point at that makes no sense and that counter one another, where there's no flow in the answers at all, where he's vomiting out of his mouth, do you really think you get the benefit of the doubt? Hell no. And how about this? This is great. Well, now it's going to be with Carson Wentz off the field. Now that's the next step. Carson should have never been on the field anyway. It was useless. You were wasting a spot. The defense essentially didn't have to pay attention to Carson Wentz at all. He was not even a part of the plays. So you're only making it that much easier for the opponents. So why was Carson ever even out there to begin with, lining up at wide receiver? That made no sense. That goes on the offensive mind. Oh, by the way, the offensive mind is Doug Pederson. Am I okay with more Jalen Hurts? Sure. No doubt. There's no denying that whatever we've seen out of Jalen Hurts to this point isn't the most that he can provide. And that's because he is being failed. That's right. The coaching staff is failing Jalen Hurts. Now, I'm watching Jeremy Chin make obnoxious plays, scoring a couple touchdowns, boom, boom, right in a row, and I need to wonder what would have been the better choice for this football team at the time of the draft. Oh, yeah, real freaking hard to figure that out. But here we are. Here we have it. We have Jalen Hurts, who they valued so much, and they can't do a damn thing. 2 of the 31 snaps that Hurts has been in play with, 2 have been a passing play. 2! Read option, read option, read option. And I wonder how much of this report, with Jeffrey Lurie being frustrated and disgusted at times with this team, how much of this is Doug Pederson saying, I got to do something new or I'm going to lose my job? But then also factor in there's reports that Doug would be okay with being fired because he knows that he would get a job elsewhere and he knows that he'd probably have more personnel say in other places. So let's take that context, add it to this topic. More personnel power. Could it possibly be that he is being forced to play Jalen Hurts more now? I think everything is on the table. Look, I talked to a source that is coaching in the NFL now, and he had some very interesting comments about where the Philadelphia Eagles are at the moment and what he is hearing about this team. Howie is forcing Doug to use a lot more analytics, and it's getting more and more as the seasons continue to move along. So we're hearing now that Howie, and we already know that Howie has a big influence on the 53, on who is going to play on game days. So is this a situation where Doug really has no power left? He's standing there looking around like this is a joke. How is this happening? And you have people above him throwing players and throwing all these problems on Doug Pederson's lap. I can't stand Doug right now, but once again, I have to be aware of every possible situation. Maybe Doug's thinking, wow, this Jalen Hurts nonsense is abysmal. He's not ready. He didn't have the proper training in the offseason. He doesn't know the playbook, but because they drafted him in the second round, and because Carson Wentz looks so ugly, and because this offense is embarrassing, Doug, you have to use this guy more. And now Doug's sitting in practice trying to find ways to get the most out of the kid. I don't know. I don't know. But I am hearing from a source that Howie's forcing analytics. Is there something in the number crunching that shows, well, hold on. Look at what happens with Drew Brees and Taysom Hill. Look at what happens with some of these gadget plays around the league. Well, because we're seeing it succeed elsewhere, we got to do this too. Yet they forgot about actually executing it and properly understanding what it takes to work with the type of gadget player in this league. And where you value that when it comes to roster construction as well. Just throwing that out there. Unbelievable, right? It really, really is. Now, we all expect Carson Wentz to start, of course, but I just wonder, how short is his leash? When would they pull him? Or is it going to be a game where it might be 50-50, honestly? Carson Wentz is doing okay, and during his okay time, you throw 4 plays in a row of Jalen Hurts. See, the reason why I don't get behind the whole, well, what are you going to do? Tell the opponent what you're trying to do in your game plan when you speak to the media on Saturday? Look, if you're the opposing team and you hear you hear Doug Pederson say something about Jalen Hurts, think about how much research and how much studying you need to now do on Jalen Hurts. And what does that mean? It takes away your studying of other parts of the team. It's almost like if you do say something, and first off, to be clear, now they already have the information. Just because Doug didn't say anything, it is now very highlighted by Tim McManus, who has been covering this team forever, that he has upgraded the amount of snaps with the first team. So whether you're going to say it or not, the news is going to come out. But imagine being on the other side and hearing this, whether Doug says it or whether it's a report from ESPN. Now they need to dive deep into Jalen Hurts. And that takes away what else they were going to do at that time. If they were going to study on Wentz or study Doug or study Jim Schwartz, now they're wasting their time, not wasting, but they're utilizing their time studying something else that takes away from maybe dialing up a better game plan in another area. So there's two ways to look at it. There's two sides. I'm miserable, though. If you couldn't tell, miserable. I'm scared of Tyler Lockett. I don't know who's going to cover Tyler Lockett. Avonte Maddox is going to try, I guess. He spends time in the slot, but he's very versatile. He can do a lot. DK Metcalf, freak of nature. We watched Justin Jefferson with the Minnesota Vikings do work, and he's getting touchdowns left and right, 100-plus yards per game. And in the beginning, he started out super slow. Then he had a couple games of, whoa, hold on a second. And at that time, I said, look, yes, he's having awesome production, but the Vikings are not winning. So while I do understand the whole Justin Jefferson thing, at the same time, you don't always need, and this more comes into the context when it comes to big contracts with wide receivers, but it doesn't necessarily always have to be about the stud number one elite wide receiver. Doesn't always have to be that, but it does hurt watching that guy compete and play and catch all these obnoxious balls. Let's look at Jalen Reagor real quick, though, before we get to the anytime hotline calls about this game Monday night. This offense blows so much that I can't even judge what Jalen Reagor has done to this point. Doug Pederson and Carson Wentz have been so disconnected that it's unfair to say that this kid is not good. It's unfair to say that this kid can't play. When I'm watching Doug Pederson draw up plays that should be for Jalen Reagor, but instead it's for your slowest wide receiver in Greg Ward, I want to blow my brains out. I'm watching games all throughout the day and all throughout Sunday and throughout every week where these head coaches are giving the football to their playmakers early on and allowing them to utilize their speed to break plays wide open, yet we're trying to use Greg Ward, and we use similar plays to Alshon Jeffrey in the past. Why not use your best guy? Right? I'm watching Debo out there doing ruthless stuff for the 49ers. Quick bang, quick bang, quick bang. Get him the ball quick. Let him operate in space. That's how they should utilize Jalen Reagor, but they don't. So just like Jalen Hurts has more to bring, and I think the coaching staff is failing him, I feel the same way about Jalen Reagor. Now, is he what Justin Jefferson is right now? I'm going to say probably not. But he's got a lot more to bring to the table than what he has. Injury plays a role. Poor scheme plays a role. Carson Wentz plays a role. There's a lot. But you don't know what you got here. And I also hate this. You could have had DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson. Yes, in theory, that would be phenomenal. But if you hit on DK Metcalf, are you drafting a first-round wide receiver the next season? Probably not. You have a lot of other holes on this football team. I don't know if you would need to go after a Justin Jefferson at this point, if you hit on DK Metcalf, I'm saying, because you would have more of a completed wide receiver core. So it's not essentially the same. There is effects down the line, a cause and effect. You get DK Metcalf, well, the effect is you might not need a wide receiver. Maybe you go after an outside corner, a safety, a linebacker. Highly doubt it, but maybe a linebacker. Patrick Queen. Unreal, right? It really is. All right, let's get to these anytime hotline calls. Before we do, I need to let you know about my friends at DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook has brought their expertise to legal sports betting. It's a legitimate sportsbook based right here in the U.S., so you can rest assured that your funds are totally secure. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is safe, secure, and reliable. Deposit and withdraw at your convenience. Listen to this deal. It's outrageous. All new users have a chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Download the app now. Sign up using promo code BROADS. Check out all that they have to offer, including player props, live betting, and so much more. If sports books are not yet available in your state, don't forget about the DraftKings Fantasy app, which offers millions of dollars in total prizes every single week. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. How do the people feel about this game? Well, that's a great question. Let's find out.
Yo, bro, it's what's good. I hope you and your family had a happy Thanksgiving. Just wanted to give my thoughts on the upcoming Eagles-Seahawks game. For me personally, I can't be optimistic about this game. I'm sorry. There's just no reason for me to feel optimistic about this game because I don't trust the coaching staff, that includes Doug Pederson and Jim Schwartz, to put together a competent game plan. And I base that merely because I get to see it. I mean, it's great that Jason Peters got moved to right guard, and now Jordan Mailata is starting. So maybe now Wentz will have 3 seconds to throw instead of 2.5. But if you ask me personally, I just can't be optimistic about this. I'm sorry.
I don't think you need to apologize. I think the right way to feel is to not be optimistic. You're not going out on a limb saying, oh, I can't really trust this football team. It's proper to not trust this team based off of all of the information and data that you have collected over the first 10, 11 weeks of the NFL season. This is a bad product. This is a bad organization. And you talked about the offensive line. Well, right now, I have no clue what's going to happen. I don't think that Jason Peters is going to play. He now has what? Turf toe? What are you going to do with the right side? Matt Pryor and Jack Driscoll. Matt Pryor, Herbig in the mix. Opeta goes to the IR. It's going to be a mess. Now, on the other side of the line, it's not as if Seattle is filled with a bunch of studs. Yes, the Dunlap acquisition has helped the team to a degree, but they are not a lethal squad. Their pass defense is atrocious. It has been playing better football as of the last handful of weeks, but it's still ultimately not great. And Russell Wilson has not been great every single game. He has thrown interception. He has turned the football over. So if it's one of those Russell Wilson games where he's not at the top, is there a chance? Sure, it's the NFL. I watched the 49ers beat the Rams. I see a lot of bad teams being competitive against other teams. But at the end of the day, there's good reasons why you should not feel optimistic. Now, with Jim Schwartz, this is where I'll battle back with you just a little, because you talked about you need to see it when it comes to having a competent game plan. You might not like it, but Jim Schwartz has done okay with this team. This roster is bad. The players on the defensive side of the ball are bad in certain areas, and you can't hide those issues. So when you have that as a D coordinator, there's only so much you can do. Yes, there have been some ugly times with Jim Schwartz this season, but ultimately, based off of what product you have, I've seen him put together a game plan. I've watched this defense stop Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb for a significant amount of time. Now, eventually, when they keep pounding the rock, and when you have flaws defensively, they will break open because that's how they establish their offense. That's how the Cleveland Browns operate. So it is going to fail. At some point, you can't ask an average defense to be elite for too long. But Jim Schwartz has been around a long period of time. There are times where he gets outcoached. You saw it happen against the Rams this year with Sean McVay. He got completely destroyed like Nate Robinson against frickin' what's his name? Jake Paul. So yeah, you've seen it. But for the most part, if we're going to take our statistics here, Jim Schwartz's game plan isn't necessarily always a problem, and that's something that you could feel good about. If you want to look at some positives, maybe the positive is Jim Schwartz. The problem, though, is Tyler Lockett. The problem is, though, you have a defense that seems to have an issue with mobile quarterbacks, with read options, with certain areas. Now, is that because your linebacking core is horrendous? Is that because some of your defensive ends are not containing and they're not paying attention? Well, sure. But game plan-wise, there are some hiccups with Schwartz. I could see why you have no faith in Doug, though. But you should have some faith in Jim Schwartz, is my point.
Hey, bros. We got this, man. We're going to crush Seattle. They suck. Their defense is terrible. They have no running game. Carson Wentz is going to light their ass up. All you Eagle fans are dumb. You want to get rid of Doug Pederson? What do you want to go back to Chip Kelly? How about that? How about those years, buddy? You're not getting rid of this coach. If you don't like the Eagles, why don't you fuck off? Because the Eagles are going to take this game, and we're going to win the division, and all you Eagle fans are going to be eating crow. How about that, big boy? Podcast on that.
I'll podcast on that, sure. I think you're an idiot, but I'll podcast on that. You went out of your way to call in to be an obnoxious asshole. What does that say about you that you felt like you needed to call in to get that point across and to be a douche? Whatever. I accept everything. I accept all phone calls, so let's have at it. I don't know what you've seen so far this season for you to think that Carson Wentz is just going to be stellar. I don't know what you've seen for you to believe that the Eagles are going to crush the Seattle Seahawks. You can have fun little fan faith if you'd like to, and who the hell knows? This is the NFL. Crazy things happen. Bad teams win at times. Sure, whatever. It doesn't fix the major problem that this organization is in a horrendous spot and that the owner is extremely pissed off and disgusted with what he has seen from this head coach. Now, you made a point. Do I want Chip Kelly? No. You know what I want, though? Andy Reid's era. I want Andy Reid's era. And if you're a dumbass who thinks that that wasn't good enough because it didn't result in a championship, well, then you don't understand how sports works, and you don't understand how franchises are ran. If you have someone who puts yourself in the conversation every year like Andy Reid did for a long period of time, well, then you take that, and that is success. If you have a chance and an opportunity to literally compete for a Super Bowl at a high level every year, whether you win it or not, you take that as a franchise. So it could be Chip Kelly, fine. It could also be Andy Reid. I'll take the chance that you find an Andy Reid over a Chip Kelly. Because you know what? Laurie's been here since 94, and Chip Kelly was a bad hire. But if I'm looking at his track record, I've seen some good hires as well. And at the end of the day, whether Doug Pederson's time ran out or not, based off of this potential 3-win season, he got it right to some extent because the Super Bowl trophy is here. Now, long term, I don't know if he gives you the best chance to win every single year. But I'm looking at Jeffrey's track record here. I'm okay with taking that chance. I don't know what you're basing any of your logic on here other than you hope they win. What am I going to eat crow if they beat Seattle? It'd be a 4-win football team in the worst division ever in the history of the sport. This team stinks. And it starts with Doug Pederson. Hate to break the news to you.
Hey, bros. This is Seth from Virginia. Seahawks are going to walk all over us. This one's going to be 170-0. We have no chance of stopping Russell Wilson. Not a fucking chance. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, it's not even going to be a competition. Carson Wentz is going to be looking lost all week. So, in other words, typical Sunday, or in this case, Monday, watching this team play. Go Birds.
Go Birds. The way you say that, it hurts me, and there's a lot of pain involved because nobody wants to say Go Birds in that way. But that is 2020, and that's how this season has played out. Chris Carson being in the mix totally changes their game plan offensively and how unique they can be with Russell Wilson utilizing his legs and him and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I bet you they find a way to try and really confuse this defense. You've seen so many jet sweeps, misdirections that fooled this defense for a big-time run, for an explosive play, and I will only imagine that Pete Carroll and that coaching staff will come together as a whole and say, okay, how can we fool this defense? defense because we've seen it happen every single damn game. Even the teams that normally don't run any sort of offense that way, they decided, hold on a second, there's something here, let's do it. I feel you will find a time where that happens. Now, I mentioned my source in the league that told me about the analytics. He also mentioned that a lot of coaches on the Eagles are mad at Doug because he just constantly gets away from the run. It's now pissing off other coaches on this coaching staff. And it should. I'm not saying you got to utilize Miles Sanders like Derrick Henry, or you need to utilize the run game like the Browns do with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. But there's no doubt that you can find ways to use Miles Sanders in such a better way. Maybe it's as easy as give him more carries. It's as easy as finding a way to scheme the screen game better because it's pathetic. It's the worst screen game I've ever seen in the National Football League. It's a joke. There has to be change. You talked about this in a presser, Doug. Miles Sanders is your positive. If he's your positive, use him more because there's no other damn positives on this football team. I thought that there would be a chance that you get Zach Ertz back. Doesn't look like that's the case. I saw an okay game out of Dallas Goedert last performance. Let's try and get him going in the passing game more. He's got an awesome skill set. He's an awesome athlete. Let's get him going in the pass game. You know he can help you with that run game if you choose to run the ball more with Miles Sanders. You know Dallas Goedert can clearly help you in that area. But please, try and use Miles Sanders more. I know he has fumbling issues. He's still giving you the best chance to win. He's your best playmaker. You got it. And the fact that more coaches are really upset with Doug for this, it's not shocking, but it's telling. It's telling that Doug isn't even liked right now based off of certain areas. I'm not saying people hate him, the human being, but people are mad at him for something so simple as getting away from the run game the way that he does. 8 straight runs at one point. 8 straight! Nah, I don't feel like doing it anymore. Moronic.
All right, Eagles Seahawks preview. What do we know about this going in? Well, we can pretty much figure out the Carson Wentz stat line before the game is even played. Let's go about 27 of 40, 285 yards. We'll give him 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 2 near picks, a fumble, and 5 sacks. That's what we have to look forward to Monday night. And also watching the Eagles chase after Russell Wilson, the modern-day Fran Tarkenton, as he avoids the rush and throws 80 yards down the field on the run to, Tyler Lockett. So, I've picked the Eagles the last 2 weeks. No way am I making that mistake again. We never beat Seattle anyway. We'll go 27-17 Seahawks.
27-17. 17 points on this dreadful defense. Once again, they are playing better as of late, but only 17 points. I feel you were being a little generous with those Carson Wentz stats. 2 touchdowns, 280-plus yards. Hell, that's a great completion percentage for this guy. Wow. Generous. That sounds like a good game for Carson this season. He's got to pull his head out of his ass. The coaching is not helping, but he's got to find a way to dig deep and play better himself. I wonder, and I don't feel that this is a reality, I'm just spitballing here, knowing that Jalen Hurts has had more first-team reps, would that light a fire underneath Carson Wentz? Did he feel comfortable? Look, as much as I've been on everybody else, Carson Wentz deserves a lot of criticism, and there's been a lot of reports about how stubborn he is. Doug Pederson, insanely stubborn. Is Carson Wentz just as stubborn when it comes to his play? He speaks. He says, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to change my game. This is who I am, right? So there's been a lot of noise about how he feels about his play, while seeing that he is now losing time in practice throughout the week. Will that make him reach another level? Once again, I don't think that that's a reality. I'm just throwing every option out there. Will you see a better Carson Wentz because he feels the heat more so than he ever has this entire season to this point? I don't know. 27-17? All right. I probably expect this Seattle team, here's the thing. If you're going to throw out all of those sacks and fumbles and interceptions, and I understand you're being sarcastic to a degree, but were you really? It could be a realistic stat line there. But if the Eagles are going to continue to turn the football over so many damn times, you're putting your defense in such bad spots to begin with. 27 points. It will probably be more than that if Carson and this offense is going to have a tough time and turn the ball over. If Miles Sanders is going to fumble the football in areas that he flat out can't, which is all over the field, may I add. You know, I don't care if he fumbles at the 10 in the red zone or if he fumbles at the 35 in your own territory. A fumble's a fumble, and it puts you in a tough spot regardless. But if Miles Sanders is going to fumble, if Carson's going to throw interceptions, you can put this Seattle offense in such great situations right from the jump where they're going to execute and boom, maybe within one play, put up 6 points, put up 7 points. It can easily happen. I wonder offensively, though, what's going to happen with Alshon? Is he going to get more snaps? Because we heard Doug say he's going to try and get Alshon in more. Who's going to be off the field? Jalen Reagor? Can't happen, Doug! Fulgham? Hightower? It just can't happen. It's unacceptable. He doesn't want to be here. You can't throw him out there for snaps. The effort's not there. The care level's not there. Then we go back to Howie Roseman. How about this? Another quote from a source. Howie's running it like it's his way or the highway. The dude has a lot to say. He's got a lot of power. He influences a lot of things. Is that why Alshon has to play? Unreal. It's just unreal that we are in this situation, having this type of conversation.
Hey, bros, what's up, man? First time caller. Love your podcast, man. Love what you're doing, man. Just keep it up. Man, I don't really give us too good of a shot at Seattle. On an unrelated note, I was thinking the other day, man. You know how everyone says we were missing Frank Reich so much, and you know he was basically the kind of the mastermind of his offense in 2017. Man, if Josh Daniels hadn't backed out of that head coaching job for Indianapolis, we could still have Frank Reich. And that's I don't know why, but that's been on my mind here lately. It just makes me mad because if they would have taken Josh, I mean, we probably would have lost him by now, but I don't know if we could have had him maybe for 2018 again, and I don't know. If Josh McDaniels had just taken that job, we might still have Frank Reich.
Yeah, that's interesting. No doubt that's interesting. Josh McDaniels, everything that happened there, he wants the job, he backs out of the job, he stays with New England. He's probably thinking at one time he will be eventually the head coach in New England. That's the only thing I could imagine would happen if you're going to have a head coaching possibility and an opportunity and you back out going, no, thank you. You would imagine that there were some conversations between him and Kraft saying, yo, when Bill Belichick is out of here, this is your spot to take. There's no other reason to deny a head coaching job when you're a coordinator, right? So you would think. But yes, Frank Reich, you watch that Colts team play. First off, they just got shredded by Tennessee this week. They allowed over 30 points at half, which is wild considering how good their defense really is. But you see a lot of great play design from Frank Reich. And I'm not one of those people that claim it was all Frank Reich, and Frank Reich is this insane, masterful genius in the NFL. I think he's good. I think he's good at what he does. But it definitely hurt. If you're looking at it from an Eagles perspective, there's no doubt that Frank Reich leaving this organization hurt Doug Pederson. We talk about surrounding him with the proper coaching staff. He was that. Frank Reich was that. Frank Reich was Doug Pederson's comfort zone from an offensive standpoint. Now you have a bunch of coaches pissed off that he gets away from the run. In the past, you wouldn't have that happen because of the input of Frank Reich. Hold on a second. We have Ajayi, Blunt, Clement playing at a high level that year. Let's use this trio, Doug. Let's not get away from it like an obnoxious moron. That's the way I have to describe Doug Pederson as of late. Sadly, I don't want it to be that way, but that's where we are.
Destroy. We're going to get destroyed on Monday because Seahawks own us. They're better than us. And Russell Wilson isn't really a running quarterback, but he's going to run all over us. Never beaten them. Probably never will be Russell Wilson and the Seahawks until he retires. Although I really want to win this game because DK Metcalf was talking shit, but I know I'm not going to. So, yeah.
All right. Now, was it me or was that individual whispering? Hey, I really hope we beat the Seattle Seahawks. I really hope we beat DK Metcalf because he was talking a lot of shit. How come there was so much quietness to that? See, here on Sports Talk with Broads, it's about being loud. It's about screaming. It's about showing the juice. I don't know how I feel about the whisper. Oh, it rubbed me the wrong way. I don't like it. No. If you're listening to this, caller, I want you to try again. I want you to call back, and I want you to give me more juice. I want you to give me more fight in you. I know the Eagles aren't going to give me much fight, so I need you to do it. I think that's fair. I'm not asking for too much. I thought that was a little odd, a little strange, that's all. I appreciate the phone call. I love all the support, no doubt about it. I'm just having some fun. Just having a little bit of chirp, if you will. But give me a little more. I know there's more in you. That's all. I know you have more in you. That's the difference.
Hey, bro. This is my first time calling in. I feel really good about the game. I don't know why. For some reason, I always feel good about the Eagles games. For some reason, I feel an upset. I don't know why. I just feel an upset. Yeah, Carson got to do better. I'm not a big Carson hater. Doug Pederson, he has to be better. Yeah, Russell Wilson scares me a lot. He could just run out the pocket. Does so many things well. They still got DK Metcalf. He haunts me. I see the white side. I'm looking. My score is. It's gonna be a high score game, 30-29. I got Birds.
Whoa! The optimism. See, this goes back to what I mentioned before when it came to this week leading up to Seattle. Every week, we talk about how this team, whenever you count them out, they're going to win. I don't know why they're going to win, but they are, because whenever their backs are against the wall, they do it. I think that has already been established this season, and that's not the case. They would have beaten the Browns. They would have beaten either Pittsburgh or Baltimore. They would have beat the Cleveland or the Cincinnati Bengals. They would have already did that. Now, at some point, they're probably going to win a football game within the next 6 games. But I feel that vibe surrounding this team, that, hey, when you count them out, that's when they do it. Nope. They had their chance. They had their opportunity to right that ship again, to fit that narrative again. That's not them this season. So I am not as optimistic as you are, but thank you so much for calling in. You said you're the first-time caller. I really appreciate that.
Yo, bros. So, just calling in. So, I got not really like a hot take because I think we're going to lose on Monday, but I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think it might actually end up being like a close game. I think you're going to see a Eagles team that's going to be out there to play a little bit harder than they have been playing the last 2 weeks. Well, really last 3, because they didn't show up in the Dallas game, but they only got squeak past them because the Cowboys are just incompetent, and you saw it like yesterday. Seattle's defense is bad, like really, really bad. Then again, Cleveland's defense was bad, and they were missing their best player. I think we're actually going to put up a fight with them, and Russ has been kind of inconsistent over the last few weeks. Then again, it's Russ. I think DK is really going to have a big game. I think that's really what's going to bite us in the butt in the end. But yeah, I'm going to say like the Seahawks win like 27-20.
27-20. Okay, a similar score to an earlier caller who said 27-17. I look at this and there's a lot of drama surrounding this team right now, right? Is there a way that drives this team? Everyone's hearing the noise. Everyone's seeing the reports. Everyone's mentioning the articles, and the headlines are popping, and they're national story news now. This Eagles team has blown up so much internally that they are being talked about at a national level. Everybody hears that, and I just wonder if that's enough to spark the team to bring the team together for a football game. Now, long term, I still think that they are horrendous, and that's not something that can change the season by any means, even though the division is so weak and so whack. For this specific game, knowing that there's so much drama involved surrounding everyone, the head coach, the owner, the GM, people are speculating if jobs are going to be lost for some of these people. Is that enough to kind of get everyone engaged more and have the fuel going? I don't know, though. See, now this caller mentioned DK Metcalf. I think Tyler Lockett's going to be the difference maker here. Chris Carson's only going to help them explode in certain areas, but I think it's going to be Tyler Lockett. Is Darius Slay going to get beat? Maybe one or two plays or so. DK Metcalf will make something special happen because he's a freak of nature and he's that talented. But I don't know who can keep up with Tyler Lockett. Whether he lines up in the slot or he lines up in other areas, it's going to be tough to keep up with that speed. I assume Avonte Maddox is going to do his best possible job that he can in terms of hustling hard, but hustling hard against Tyler Lockett isn't going to be enough to complete the job. Tyler Lockett's the difference maker for me. He's the one that can explode and give you 3 touchdowns and give you 130-plus yards and be a dog and murder you every single chance he gets. I wish we had playmakers like that. Really, I do. I wish.
What's going on, bros? So my thoughts on the Seahawks game are who's going to guard Tyler Lockett, because we all know that Darius Slay is going to be on DK Metcalf. I don't know how Avonte Maddox is going to be able to keep up with Tyler Lockett.
It's like you read my mind. That was not planned, by the way. Continue.
His route running ability. Also, will Carson Wentz play better against a horrendous Seattle defense? They're not going to be screaming in his face all game. And are the Eagles athletic enough at linebacker and at defensive end to contain Russell Wilson? Thanks, and go Birds.
Can they contain Russell Wilson? Probably not. Nope, probably not. There's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some errors. There's going to be what you've seen to this point, you're going to see again. Sadly, you're going to see it all happen. You're going to see everything happen once again. It's one big, monstrous problem that starts with the top. Here we are, 3-6-1. Not in first place in the division because the Giants get a big-time victory. Who would have thought? Giants-Washington in the topic of conversation when it comes to leading the NFC East, winning the division. Those two, they're the most deserving. Good for them. I'm pulling for them. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, Orbit Energy and Power is home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. They are dedicated to making sure your project is completed easily and properly by using high-quality materials and trained professionals to get the job done right. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Check out everything that they have to offer down below on their website. The link is in the description. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.